Hi guys, and welcome to another amazing episode of Princess and Friends. I have a very special guest with me today. She's here to talk about so many amazing, interesting things. So would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Zoe and I'm an SEN mum.
Hi Zoe. It's amazing to have you here, Zoe. And the topics that we're going to discuss today, I think, are so important, particularly in today's society where more awareness is being raised around these types of things. So do you want to kind of talk to us about your journey in regards to, what has brought you to the forefront, bringing these issues and shedding light to these issues? And, I don't want to say too much because I'd rather you introduce kind of what you do and why you do it.
It's a whole chapter.
Right.
Back in 2012, I gave birth to my son. It was a lovely experience. I was a first-time mum. And, I was just enjoying the baby stage. And then when he got to about 1.5, I started to notice certain, I don't want to say not normal, but I just... when you have a gut feeling something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept on monitoring it. And then when he got to 2, that's when I knew that something wasn't right. I kept going back and forth to the doctors. Like, they kept saying, he's still young, give him time and all of that jazz. And to be honest, I wasn't really convinced with what they were saying. I just felt that they were just throwing me from pillar to post. And I knew that something wasn't right with my child. And from when he started nursery, the teachers were coming back and telling me that he's not communicating properly with his peers and doing what his peers were doing in class, like normal 2-year-olds talking, giving eye contact, that sort of thing. That really... that's when the depression kicked in. It started to have a massive impact on my mental health because I knew something wasn't right. The nursery knew, but when I was trying to seek help and get help for it, they were turning me away. So I had to deal with all of that. Then they were trying to get the EHC plan together, which was a nightmare. It got turned down 3 times at nursery. 3 times. And
Can you explain to our viewers who may not know what that is?
An EHC plan is something that helps children in place, like with certain diagnoses that they have. It gives them entitlement to certain things that they're entitled to, like they're entitled to one-to-one support in class and, around any of the school premises, that it entitles them to have that one-to-one time, because a lot of children need that with special needs. And they're very hard to get because it costs the government, obviously, and they don't like to give them out. And where it's on the rise, it's even harder now for parents to get that, even though sometimes the signs and symptoms are just so obvious.
Right. So so take us back there. So you asked for this plan 3 times. It got turned down 3 times.
Yeah, it got turned down, and then eventually started reception school, and they were struggling. They had to put him in the nursery that was attached to the school because he just couldn't handle the structure of school.
So he actually got put down a year?
Yeah, he got put back into the nursery, which isn't good because you need to...
Right, and how was that for you as a parent?
That was hard. It was difficult because I just thought, why can't they just hurry up and sort this out? They're even telling me that they're struggling to get him throughout the whole day. So, where do we go from here kind of thing? Because they were kind of looking at each other as if to say, what do we do? And that was even more of a concern because as a parent, because I'm thinking, well, if you don't know what to do, what am I supposed to do kind of thing. So that was really playing on my mind and had an impact on my mental health, as you could understand.
So what did that look like, having an impact on your mental health? How did that manifest itself within you and your household, and how you felt about yourself?
It was tough because I felt very isolated, because I felt that I was in a world of my own and no one understood what I was going through. I was trying to communicate, screaming at the top of my lungs, and still the people around me just didn't understand. So it was just a very lonely journey to be on. It was stressful. And I was around the wrong people anyway. The people that I was around at the time, they were no good for me. So I started to find out about them as well. And, I'm still finding out about people on my journey all now.
And how did you feel as a parent? How did that make you feel as a parent?
I just felt very disappointed. I felt let down.
Did you blame yourself at all?
I was just thinking, I was questioning myself, yes. I was thinking, what have I done? Is it something that I've done? Is it something his dad's done? It was just very hard. You start doubting yourself and you just think, did I do something in my pregnancy? Did it trigger it?
Right.
Because sometimes people do ask them questions, how did he get autism? Why has he got it? And sometimes you can't really answer these questions because you just don't know.
When did he get diagnosed with autism?
He got diagnosed when he was 4.5.
So from him being put back a year in nursery, how did things progress from there?
That's the thing, things weren't progressing because they kept on applying for the EHC plan and then it got turned down another 3 times as well.
So that's 6 times in total?
6 times in total.
Wow. What were their reasons for rejecting it?
They just said there wasn't enough evidence to prove, because you have to write it a certain way. But I put enough trust in the school to think that that's what they were doing. But the school were just telling me they keep moving the goalposts further and further because they keep sending it back saying they need to do this, they need to do that.
Right.
And then when they did that, they would add on something else. So it just felt like we wasn't getting anywhere.
So then the 6th time that they applied, what year was he in at that point?
He was in year 1.
Right. And what was
Yeah.
different this time?
Well, was it the welfare officer, the children's psychologist officer? She came, she phoned me and said, there's nothing wrong with him. And I just said, no, you have absolutely no idea what I go through, what my life is, and how much the teachers are struggling to get him through the day. Do you want to come and analyse him and watch and observe what's going on in his environment? So, yeah, she took my advice. She came down and she watched him in class and she said, yes, this child definitely has special needs. So my thing was, why was you telling me down the phone there's nothing wrong with him, bearing in mind you've never seen him before and you don't even know what I'm going through as a parent and how this is affecting not just him but also me as his parent.
That must have been a lot to hear. What does it take to keep fighting? Because that can be so discouraging. And I can't imagine you always have the strength.
I had to fight. I had to keep saying in my mind, Zoe, you have to keep going no matter what they tell you, no matter what anybody says around you, whether they're putting doubt in you, still keep going. That's what I had to keep telling myself. And, you know, 1 or 2 people did give good advice and that kind of like made things a bit better in terms of like, oh, you got a bit of relief there and it's not just all negativity. So when I heard that was what was giving me the push to keep going.
So then he finally got put on his plan and recognised as having autism.
Yeah.
And how did that change your world?
Do you know what? Like, I'm not saying it made everything all right. I mean, I still had my struggles, but it made things easier in the sense of being entitled to things that and certain services we could make use of, which was a big relief. But because he was still quite young, there were services that we had to wait for.
Right.
So, yeah.
And what services are there out there for mums that are struggling like you? What services do you find really helpful and have helped you throughout this journey?
Respite and Snooze Club. There's a club that he attends from 10 till 4 in the holidays and they take them on trips and do little activities with them. And from all age groups, it doesn't matter. You could be a big adult, 28. They don't go by age when it comes to disability.
Right. And that is that just for autistic children or are there other?
Not just autistic children, Down syndrome, other difficulties, all sorts of disabilities they cater for.
Right. And what did you have to do to access that help?
Someone I know had a child that's got Down syndrome and she referred me.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so sometimes you more hear about these services through word of mouth because like with social services, they don't really tell you what you're entitled to.
Wow.
They don't, they keep that information on mute.
Right. So you've actually had to go out and do the legwork and find out
Yeah, you have
yourself.
to do your research yourself as a parent. I mean, if you mix with SEN parents, they will share with you what services they're using and that's how you make use of what works for you.
And respite, what does that look like?
Respite is a massive relief because you know, sometimes when you just need that time for yourself just to like catch up on what you're behind with, and you know, just spending quality time with my daughter as well.
So you have 2 children.
Yeah, I've got 2 children.
So what are the ages of your 2 children? So your
my son, he's 11, and my daughter's 2.
So your son is autistic, and he has and he's 11 years old, and your daughter,
she's 2.
She's 2 years old, and that's quite a big age gap, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So she doesn't really understand about his disability.
Right.
But she still loves him. She still looks after him, because sometimes she does have to look after him.
Right. In what way?
Just with reminding him about certain things.
Oh,
she'll have to remind him. She'll be like, "Oh, get this, to pick that up," because she knows what I'm like when it comes to messing the house.
Right.
Yeah.
And for you yourself, having 2 different children with different level of need, how is that for you juggling? Because, you know, you had your son for 11 years. Now you've got your little one. You've got a 9-year gap. How is that? How are you coping?
To be honest, it's made my son mature a bit and made him more responsible. And then she will share what she's learning on the way as well, which helps. And, you know, it's not as bad as what I thought it was going to be, because, again, I was just thinking negative. But it turned out to be a very good experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you skeptical about having another child?
Yes, I was for a long time, and that's why there's such a big gap.
Right.
Not just for that reason, but... Yeah.
So that did that have a part to play, the struggles that you experienced?
It did, big time.
In what way? What were you scared of?
I was scared of him not wanting to share me, because he's very protective over me. If someone even tries to hug me or kiss me, or try and like push them away.
Right.
Yeah.
And has it been okay?
Yeah, it has. It has. He's still protective, but I have to reassure him, no, it's okay. They're just giving mummy a hug.
Right.
You have to like keep telling him.
Okay. And who's coached you in order to be able to kind of deal with him and manage him in that way? Because you sound like you're quite in tune with him, and I've watched your stuff and the way you deal with him, the way you speak to him, the way you manage him. You're
just
very tactful.
Just talking to other parents and learning from other people, prayer, fasting, going to church, trusting God.
Right.
Lots of things. About my main source has been God, trust me.
Wow. So are there no groups available to you? Have social services put you in touch with any kind of people that kind of can educate you on, you know,
they
what
have
to do?
Workshops, but because they were quite far out, and on days where we have other stuff planned, it ended up not working. But then where we get where we've met other parents, it's kind of like still worked in our favour.
Right. Is he in mainstream school at the moment?
No, he's in specials. He's in a special school.
Right. And when did that transition happen?
That transition happened the beginning of year 2.
Okay. Yeah. So quite early in.
It was quite early in.
And how did you feel about that?
I was just so happy. I was over the moon, because the level of support that mainstream give is very basic. They don't work together in the same way how special needs schools do. They work with the parents more. There's more support. Like, say, like if you're having problems at home in different areas, and it don't even necessarily have to be regarding your child. It could be with you. And they're very helpful and supportive in that area, definitely.
And what are your worries about him in the world as a young adult?
People taking advantage of him. He's very vulnerable, and you know, he'll just trust anybody, run into the hands of anybody. That's what my concerns are. His guard is just down, and he will just go and not realise that he might not be wanted, because that's an area where he struggles with, like knowing where he's wanted and when to back off. He's just a very loving boy that wants that same sort of love back, but unfortunately, he doesn't understand that he's not always going to get what he wants and what he gives to people.
And what is the hardest part of being a mum to an autistic child?
The sacrifices that you have to make. Your time is not your own. I basically had to give up my whole life just to get him to where he needs to be. That was difficult. I had to make a sacrifice, and I had to make a very quick decision, like, do I continue working or do I stay at home and look after my son? And to be honest with you, it was more pushing me in the direction to just stay at home with him, because that was what God was telling me. Like, because if I worked 9 to 5, then that would just take my focus off what I need to focus on, and my main priority was him. So if he's my priority, I have to put him first, and my son's more important than any career. I don't really care what people's opinions are on that. I mean, some people choose to stay at work. If you choose to stay at work, fine, but I had to do what I thought was best. And yeah, I'm glad that I made that decision.
Right. So in order to kind of prioritize and balance your life with kind of self-care and you not self-sacrificing, how do you find that balance?
It's tough. It is really tough, and sometimes you have your down days because it's like you're trying to keep up with everything, your social life and, you know, like looking after yourself, because sometimes you can end up neglecting yourself and there becomes an imbalance. It's like everything's more important than yourself, which can lead to another problem through neglect and stuff. So, you know, like, you just have to monitor what you're doing and think, right, am I spending too much time doing this? Am I spending too much time with this person? Do I need to spend more time and focus on myself? Like, you have to get the balance right in order to display the best version of you.
Of yourself, right. And in order to kind of do everything that you just said, I would have thought that you would have had to have a big support system around you. Do you have that?
I don't have a big support system, and this is why I have to make sure I've got the balance right. I mean, unfortunately, my mum moved away 3 years ago after her and my dad divorced.
Right.
That was tough. So I've had to just find ways to just cope on my own and just, like, not depend on anyone. I can't really depend on anybody apart from my partner. And, you know, sometimes that takes its toll on me, because it's like I really have to plan to do things. I can't just get up and go, and I can't just leave my kids with just anybody.
Right.
So yeah, that is really tough.
And how do you know who to trust with your
This
child?
is the thing, you can't you can't trust people, because my son, even though he's verbal, he can't always tell me if something's happened. Like, even just having a simple conversation at school, like, asking him, oh, how was your day at school? It's like he'll say it's good, but he can't, like, go into detail.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can say it was good or bad, or he's sad. He can say how he's feeling with basic sign language, but he can't go into detail and say why he feels like that. I don't think he understands his emotions, which makes things harder. And then that's why I'm glad that I've got another child that would be able to explain if something happened. My 2-year-old would be like, Mummy, this happened. I mean, she's still young herself, but I think I'd be able to get a bit more out of her than what I would with him.
Right. Do you parent them differently?
I wouldn't like to think that, but I do have to really get down on a level, my son's level, and try and understand where he's coming from. That's hard.
So is it challenging to kind of flip between the two parenting styles?
Definitely, yeah, because I have to parent her a bit different. I mean, she's learning very fast. Her mind is like a sponge. So yeah, she's really learning fast. I mean, he's learning as well, but just at a certain pace.
Differently, yeah. And for you, if you were to explain autism to somebody that had never experienced it, maybe a mum that is kind of seeing the signs you saw in your son when he was younger, what would you explain autism to be from your personal experiences? Forget everything you've read, forget everything you've heard from other people, your own personal opinion. What is autism to you?
Do you know what? Autism is such a wide spectrum. It can be a number of things. Like, as soon as you see things that are not really acceptable or classed as normal, start to research it and, you know, get the help and support. If you think something's not right with your child, don't think about what anybody else has to say. If you know what's right from wrong, and if you sense something, go and seek help. Autism there's so many different areas where people struggle. Like I said, there's a wide spectrum of things. So, like, getting help is such a complex disability, and sometimes it can be missed a lot and diagnosed really late, because some people are very good at masking it. There's adults I know that have autism, and you know, it's like they've only just come out of it, and you're just like, what? Like, how the hell did you mask that for how many years without no help or support? So trust me, it's tough. It's very tough, but people have their ways of coping, and you know how they get through their day. I mean, like, as you go through different struggle, every day's a new day, and you know, every day's another struggle in a different way. So I guess you learn as you go along.
So do you think, because you mentioned something quite important, because there are times where I'm communicating with adults and I see this adult may have the same pattern of behavior with different people, and maybe have the same difficulties with different people. And I think sometimes you might be on the spectrum, but if I present that to them, they might think that I'm being offensive, and I'm like, I'm actually not.
Do you know what? Everybody's on the spectrum slightly, but then there's some people that are on the spectrum where it's more noticeable,
right?
And they're struggling with how to communicate and cope with their emotions.
So for you, can you recognize adults with autism now, do you think, after experiencing this in your world?
Do you know what? If they was to come out of it, then you know, because you just think, oh, okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Even though they're masking it, you notice certain things about them. They could be very particular with their stuff. If their routine's messed up, they can be quite unsettled and agitated. And like, when my son's routine's messed up, that really unsettles him. So you know what the triggers are, and how to avoid the triggers.
So you have to be quite rigid with how you have your routines and things like that.
Yeah, because I've spoken to people that work with people with autism, and you know, if they're saying that they're coming at a certain time and they don't come, they can get really upset and be like, oh, well, you said you were coming at 9 o'clock. Why haven't you turned up? Why didn't you come at 9 o'clock? Like, to some people, that would just be nothing. But with someone that's struggling with autism or is on the spectrum, that can really unsettle them.
That's so interesting, because I know a couple of people that are like that, and that would explain, actually. So for you, does that impact you making plans with people sometimes when you're with him? Because
it does, because sometimes I can't do what, you know, they've planned for us to do, and that can be difficult, because I'm explaining to them, sorry.
It's all right, you can say his name, you're okay, boo.
Yeah, like, I'll explain to them he can't do certain things, or he's high functioning. Like, he struggled. I took him to the cinema one time, and he struggled with that.
What type of behaviour did he present with?
He just wouldn't sit down. He just, like, wasn't interested in the film. He kept moving around, and you know, well, I don't want to say inconsiderate, because it's not inconsiderate.
No, he's
in
not
his
aware
world.
of that.
He's not aware, but you know, the people around me were tutting and getting upset, and I said, sorry, he's got special needs, and I was told that it was a special needs screening when it wasn't.
Right.
So yeah, can you imagine?
That's what I was going to ask you. How does that make you feel?
It really does anger me, I'm not going to lie, because sometimes you just crumble down and you just think, why can't my life be a bit more straightforward? But I give God thanks for my 2 children. They're my 2 blessings, but it comes with complications as well. And, you know, sometimes people don't always understand that. And I've had to, like, lock certain individuals off, because through them not understanding my lifestyle, and I'm growing as I'm going along, and I'm realising that my lifestyle is not aligned with some of the people's that I had around me, and it's just our lives were going in different directions. So
and what type of understanding do you need from people that are in your world to kind of just understand or give you that support? What do you need from them?
Just please understand if I'm not available or I can't do something, please don't get upset with me. Please don't try and manipulate the situation. Just understand I'm unavailable and I don't have the support network around me that they may have.
Can they support you with your son, do you think? Do you think there's anybody that could actually learn to support? Or
there's people that could have learned to support, but I think it was more down to them not wanting to. I mean, I believe that some people could support, but like I said, I'm not really trying to depend on anybody, even though it would be very nice if you had that somebody that you could depend on, but people let you down every single time, all the time.
That's tough. And for your relationship, what type of strain, if not, it might have brought you guys closer, but in your relationship, when you are dealing with a child that has additional needs, what type of dynamic how does that impact your dynamic in your relationship?
Are you talking about with my partner?
Your
or just
partner.
friends?
Yeah, your partner.
At first it was hard because he didn't kind of know what to expect. So yeah, it was tough because he kind of like didn't know what to expect. He thought he understood, but then he realised when the challenges kicked in, oh, this is a bit more different than what I expected. So that was tough as well, but now we're more working as a team to support him rather than working separately.
That's amazing.
Because when you come together as a team, it makes things a lot easier. If you watch what one's doing, you just take a leaf out of the other person's book. Simple.
That's amazing, Zoe. I'd love to get more in depth with this topic with you, because I think the work that you're doing, kind of just putting stuff out there, because it is work, like you're gifting people with the knowledge and the insight of what it's like to have a child with additional needs. And there are so many people that need that kind of...
Yeah, there's loads of people out there that are struggling. I mean, I do TikTok videos as well where I speak about it, and if I'm having a downer, I'm quite open to say, you know, it's tough, because on one of my videos I was explaining to them why my son has certain emotions and, you know, he doesn't understand them, and, you know, sometimes when they don't understand that can frustrate them. They can kick off even more because they're feeling a certain way, but they can't explain to you why they're feeling like that.
Very, very valuable, very, very valuable insight. Can you tell people where to find you?
You got my Instagram account, which is Miss Zolo87, and the same with my TikTok, Miss Zolo87.
Absolutely amazing. Zoe, you have been absolutely phenomenal. I wish we had more time, and I'd love to do a part 2 with you, honestly, because the work you do is phenomenal. I appreciate your candidness, your openness. You've been great. Guys, this has been Zoe. I was going to say Zolo. That's where to find her. Zolo87 on all social media platforms. She's been absolutely phenomenal. Guys, if you are struggling with a child with additional needs, please do follow her pages. Her content is so insightful. It's so genuine. It's so real. And do reach out to her. She's open. Touch base, okay? You're not alone.
I'm
all right?
here.
All right, guys, that's me, Princess and Friends. Catch you on the other side. Love.